Check. Check one. All right, I believe I believe the major can see me or hear me in the background. Should be all right. Yeah, cool. Just a couple seconds. Getting there. We're pretty close. I'm going to bring you straight in, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, chat room, hit that like before I jump in the room. Just do it, because I know you're going to like it. And if you don't, I went blind for nothing. I have to admit, I have double vision right now, but I have a good reason for it. And I'll explain it in just one second. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's House Sparks Mornings, Megaworldwide. Joining us, the major himself. TurnLeftPack.org, bookmark it, buy the merch, get yourself a Jackaloon shirt. Knit caps will be here by the winter, I have no doubt. Celebratory, I want to see at some point, we're going to have to find a way to give people iron-on prison bars so that all the Trump stuff they bought, they could just iron the bars right on top of them once he goes away.
Keep it relevant. Got to keep it relevant.
That's right, absolutely. Welcome. Good to see you. How are you, sir? How you doing this fine day?
Doing good. Just every day, more and more stuff surfaces, and every day, it's like with the stuff with James Comer and Jim Jordan. I mean, instead of apologizing for basically attacking President Biden and his son forever, now that we know that Smirnoff was a liar, they're just going to go ahead and keep pushing that narrative because it's all they got.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up this morning because one of the things I was looking forward to over the last couple of days because of the fight they've been picking is about Tony Bobulinski's interview. Now, Tony Bobulinski, for those that don't know, is in my estimation, the most ridiculous and least credible witness they have come up with. And that's saying a lot because they've had some serious people that, are, as my country father would say, are straight ate up with the dumbass, and I'm sure you're familiar with folks of that ilk. And Bobulinski, though, of all of them, has the biggest bone to pick. So I don't, So let me just show you something real quick, just to give people an idea of just what my morning was like. 4 a.m. I get up. And I'm going through this thing. This is Tony Bobulinski's transcript. This is, I got all the way, this is further on than I got to, no, this is earlier than I got, because I got to like page 260 before my iPad died, because I had not put it on the charger last night, and I woke up and I'm just like, 4 a.m., I'm reading this for 3 goddamn hours, plus going through this thing. And you know me, man, when this shit comes up and something's said and they're like, I'd like to refer you to this story from this time, I'm like, oh, let's look at that fucking story up. All right, okay. I'm gonna read right along with them because I know they're not gonna put the whole thing in the transcript because they've got limited time, so they want to hit certain beats and they're not gonna just go. And I'll go, okay, I'll read the whole fucking article. All right, now I'm back. All right, now what sentences are we talking about? So Bobulinski, for those of you that don't know, was described in his first Wall Street Journal interview back in the day, at the beginning of all this shit, around 2020, when the Trump organization started corralling him in front of microphones, as ex-business partner of Devin Archer and Hunter Biden. I would have, having read the transcript, and as much as I have, and reading the rest of this, I would put disgruntled ex-business partner, because this dude is pissed. Now, if you read the beginning of the thing, you would think he's pissed because Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are defrauding the American people, that they are lying to the American people, and he felt it was his mission in life. He must tell people, people are fraudulent. They are defrauding the American people. And then you get down into, he really hates Dan Goldman, by the way. He fucking hates Dan Goldman. The back and forth, the notes about, let a note be made that the witness is raising his voice. He's like, I'll raise my voice because you're imputing my blah, blah, blah. Okay. So he has this big issue with Dan Goldman being rich, apparently. All these rich people, I don't know. I got to say, you and I are, neither one of us would qualify as the upper 1%. I don't think you or I don't want to disparage you. I think as human beings go, Major, you are in the upper 1% as far as I'm concerned. But economically,
yeah,
neither you nor I would qualify, probably not even the top 20%. Close, but no cigar. But, upper middle class, wall scratchers. That's basically where we round, that's what we've been. You're always trying to get one foot in front of the other economically and whatever. And I gotta say, man, I have, maybe this isn't, maybe I don't know because I'm not fucking super rich. Maybe that's it. But these rich motherfuckers, because Bobulinski keeps saying how rich he is during this whole thing to demonstrate why he's paying his own legal bills and it's not Trump behind the scenes paying them. Nobody believes he's paying them because he doesn't pay his own fucking lawyers, but that's not the point. They all seem so fixated on how rich the person questioning them are. So, like Bobulinski goes after Goldman, like as a trust fund kid or some shit, or a rich lawyer, or he used to be at SDNY, so therefore he's connected to the rich and the powerful and all this shit. Same way Trump does. And I don't get it. Like, if you're that rich, at what point, I've always, like, when do you get to shed the, I'm rich enough not to give a shit anymore? You know what I mean? It makes no fucking sense to me.
Well, nothing surprises me when it comes to greed anymore in this country. I mean, this is,
it's so weird. It's so fucking weird.
But you see the thing where it says, we can't feed the needy because we can't address the greedy.
Sure.
I mean, sad. That's pretty much how it is.
Well, the weird thing is that doesn't seem to be the case in most of the country. Again, Americans are statistically the most, in the top 3 most charitable citizens in the world, period, all the time. We're always giving us stuff. We're always rounding up our fucking grocery bills for an extra couple nickels. Every jar that's on the counter for a fucking, kids buying band instruments or healthcare or whatever, we're throwing our extra change in there without batting our eye. But you get the feeling that the Trumps and the Bobulinskis of the world, just like, if they ever set foot in a convenience store, would stare at contempt at that jar on the counter that's there to help fucking Girl Scouts get new uniforms or whatever it is.
Make no mistake about it. They all take a penny. They all take that penny.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They'll clean it out,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's the mentality of these people.
Yeah, it's like they're the kings of like the zero-sum game, and it's no wonder why.
Let me tell you though, that's the way that it is across the board. I can tell you when I was in Southern West Virginia, and I would always, like every weekend we were doing something, but every once in a while there would be like we would have these children that would die of these cancers.
Sure.
And it happens in every community. You're always, I hate it, but it's like, even when I was teaching, it was like every year there was another child that was diagnosed with something that ended up, passing away before their graduation.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, it's.
And so they were they raising money for funeral costs or for the family?
Well, that's the thing. I'm standing there. What I would do is I would go out. There was these 2 stores. You had Kroger's and a store called Valley Market.
Oh, and Kroger's.
I would stand right there on the main road. And with the sign, and what my thing was I could not stand the fact to think that poor people that had children that got cancers and was dying, they were going to have to worry about the funeral bill. I mean, my thoughts was at least we can do is we can alleviate that pain from them, and let's let's pay for the funerals and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, you know, those people that drive by and, you know, the more raggedy the car is, the more money people will, you know, you'll find somebody as poor as dirt that'll drop a $20 bill in your bucket, but a daggone Mercedes-Benz won't even roll the window down.
Right.
And I hate to say that, but that's where you actually can see things like that, where the people that are given the most are usually the ones that struggle the most.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I would argue that, you know, being of the raggedy car clan, my entire life, ask anyone I dated in the 90s if they could see the road through the floorboard on the passenger side if the carpet came up. So let me you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. That, you know, I certainly was able to give more to charity on occasion and be more generous simply because I was not spending it on a new car. That's true. My car payments were relatively low because no one could charge you that much for a shit car like that. But also, I think just in general, you know, that there but for the grace of God go I is more on your mind when you're more confronted with that. That's why I'm like happy I'm a comedian and not just an actor or musician and all that kind of stuff. Because actors can kind of live in a tower and only observe real people when they have to pretend to be one. And you know, writers can sit in a fucking cabin and write shit about what they remember people used to be like, right? But they're not that well known, so they can walk around in public and nobody cares. Unless you're Stephen King, I guess, or whatever. But who, by the way, adds real product names to his books to make them seem more real. And you ever notice it's never like potato chips, it's always Cool Ranch, Doritos, and a Diet Dr. Pepper. It's always very specific because that's his way of like grabbing you. I know what that tastes like. Right. Anyways, as a comic, you can't get rich. You can't, or your job's done. You got to live like a normal fucking person. You have to do your own shopping. You got to ride elevators. You got to, you know, you can't get a fucking limo everywhere. What the fuck are you going to talk about? What jokes are you going to make? You're going to stand on the deck of a yacht and make jokes that only Saudis understand? It's fucking stupid. So I consider that a lucky thing. But Bobulinski in this thing, first of all, let's be abundantly clear. He's a dick. And the reason everybody seems to be trying to elbow him out of this deal, which is what he's pissed about. And by the time you get to the end of this, Goldman sets him up very nicely. The Republicans are trying to deliver this, like, what does it say right there? 10% for the big guy? Did that, see that? Yes, you did. Was that an email that you were CC'd on? Yes, it was. And then Goldman's like, did that ever happen? What? Was there ever 10% for Joe Biden, who you said was the big guy? No. How'd it work out? It was 20 for me, 20 for Rob Walker, 20 for Hunter Biden, James Biden, and Devin Archer. We all divided up five ways a Sunday. Okay, so he never got 10%. No. This is my favorite part of it. So in the end of this, it's abundantly clear that like Bobulinski, they were trying to work their way around him. Everybody in that organization was trying to work their way around working with this asshole. They're like, he's an idiot. He doesn't quite know what he's doing. He's in bed with a bunch of rich psychopaths, and we don't trust him. And so they just start trying to like make other deals without him. It never went anywhere. The business that they were talking about, this deal with CEFC. And he's pissed because he says James Biden and Hunter Biden defrauded him by going around him. That's what this is all about for him, is that business-wise, anywhere he goes in the world, people are going to go, oh, they kicked you. You're the guy they kicked to the curb because you were full of shit. Right? He's mad. That's what this is about. He's fucking, he's like, it's stuck in his gizzard about this stuff. Okay, so about halfway through Goldman asking him questions the second time, when they go back after they've done the initial testimony and then they kind of revamp stuff, Goldman is so fucking good at this. He's so fucking good at this. There's a bit of a rope-a-dope in the first one where he's like, no, I'm just asking. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, well, is that what you said? I'm just clarifying, you know, those kind of things. And in the end, he's just like, remember when you said this? Okay, what about this? Remember when you said this? Okay, what about this? Like it's brutal. And at one point, Bobulinski, apropos of fucking nothing, says that one of the reasons why the deal never happened between him and the rest of Rob Walker and Biden and the Shemp Biden and Gomer Biden and whoever else. The reason it's very popular. Do you need to take that? You good?
No. I'm go ahead.
Okay.
Keep on.
So he goes. He wanted it was 5 people on the deal that were involved in the deal, and his bone to pick. Bobulinski wanted 3 votes for himself, so that he and one other person could outvote everybody else. Was the idea. What he doesn't say is that in most corporate law, in the event of a brokered agreement, the one with the most votes says it. So if 3 people want this and 2 people want this, but one of them doesn't want to side with either, the person with 3 votes, fuck it, that's the decision that the company makes. So this motherfucker wanted 20% of everything, a subsidiary 20% of everything, so they would buy his company and fold it in. And he wants 3 fucking votes on the board of this fucking company that isn't doing shit. And his whole argument is, at one point he's like, in 2015, 2016, I was telling Rob Walker, you don't want to be in business with the Chinese. They cheat and steal and cheaty steal. They're cheaty stealing cheaters. And like, this deal was signed in 2017, you dumb motherfucker. When did you change your mind? And he's like, I don't remember when I changed my mind. Well, you obviously did. You signed the paper, didn't you? Well, I just take issue with the idea that I changed my mind. Like, what the fuck is happening? This is some of the dumbest shit I have ever read in my life. And I'm only 2/3 for it. Oh, the chat, by the way, has some questions for the Major, and we will get to those in just one second, too. And do you want to farm those for me, Andrea, so we can pull those out because it'll zip by, and I'll miss it, and I don't want to.
I would tell you, between Goldman, between Moskowitz, there's like those are the new faces right now that are just
they're good.
They're killing it.
I mean, fuck. If you're on the receiving end of Goldman as a prosecutor, like if he decided to leave public service to like go back, like leave Congress and go back to being a prosecutor after people being well known, you end up in front of this fucker, or he's on the other table, you'd be like, oh fuck, man, not this guy.
You're screwed. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the GOP don't participate in the details, and that's one of the things that right now I think it's important for us to know. When was the exact date that James Comer and Jim Jordan knew that Smirnoff was a liar? Because they have continued, and that's what bothers me is the Republicans. It doesn't matter. Integrity doesn't matter to them. What they're doing right now is because they've been found that everything that they said was wrong. They're just going to continue saying it because Jim Jordan says, "Well, that doesn't take it away. It doesn't mean that it didn't happen."
Right?
You made this shit up. A guy made this shit up. I mean, it's that bad. It's a shame.
It's fucking crazy. And again, like next, James Biden already spoke. That was a dud. That's why they jumped straight to releasing, excerpts of this, and then, they're because he's the dirty witness. He's the one that brought a lot of these things. He was invited by Trump to go to the second debate against Biden. He was his guest or whatever, and he gave a speech in Nashville, right next door to the place. And they're like, "What? Why'd you have to go there? Why didn't you? If what you're saying is true, why don't you just have a press conference where you are rather than fly via private plane that you paid for yourself?" Yeah, I paid for it myself. Do you have the receipt? Can you show us that you paid for it yourself or something? I have it. You mean a piece of paper? I'm sure. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, but I flew in there. He goes, that was closed airspace because the president and the vice and the former vice president were there debating. They closed the airspace around this. So how'd you end up landing in a private plane at an airfield that was closed? If you weren't a guest, you certainly weren't a guest of the Biden campaign, were you? He's like, no. Were you a guest of the Trump campaign? I don't know. My lawyers probably know who I was a guest. I'm like, get the fuck out. Just say it, asshole. Just say, yeah, they brought me in there because they wanted the truth and I wanted the truth and that's the truth and whatever. We do have 2 questions for you. Diana Turner says, ask the Major if North Carolina is going to be all red. That's what she. What do you
I
think?
don't. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it's going to be at least purple.
Right.
I think it's more along the lines in terms of if you were looking at states that are like on the border. I mean, I would say North Carolina would be one of those.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more purpling of states, anyways. Simply because there's
I,
yeah.
I think that every single day. I mean, now what you're seeing on like YouTube,
Yeah.
one out of every four things is basically highlighting how Donald Trump is losing it, how Donald Trump
Yeah.
is spewing nonsense, how Donald Trump now Fox News and Newsweek or Newsmax are stopping and going straight to damage control, talking
Right.
about fact checking Donald Trump. So I'm a firm believer. We've got another 8-9 months, and this is what it's going to be every day for the rest of that. You're going to see videos and ads and articles talking about Donald Trump's mental instability.
Yeah.
And I believe that by the time November gets here, I think a lot of people are going to be. Remember, Nikki Haley lost to Donald Trump in South Carolina 60-40, but know
Right.
that like 58% of Nikki Haley's voting base has said if it's Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they're voting Biden.
Yep.
So there's nothing but bad news coming out. Nothing, and it's going to continue
Right.
being bad news. Donald
Agreed.
Trump is going to continue losing properties, and Letitia James, within the next 30 days is probably going to confiscate Trump Tower. Good.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he loses everything, but every single day, that he loses more and more. A lot of people are like, have always been like, well, it doesn't look. If he was a crook, he wouldn't be able to get away with all that. And the truth is yes, that's why he was able to get away with so much.
Right. Well,
but I think
and
people
who's really excited about Letitia James seizing Trump Tower more than anybody? The residents of Trump Tower, because selling that shit is too much fucking work. The minute you take his name off a piece of property, the premium in New York goes up like 16 to 20%. And so the hilarious part is that whether they like him or not, whether they view him as a useful idiot or not, the irony is that most of the people who would live in a place like Trump Tower are, survival of the fittest, economic Darwinists in their own mind. So they're like, yeah, fuck, take his name off. I'll sell this dump and buy 2 places downtown, and I'll move over to here. And crazy. John G says, do you see any flaws in the Ukraine military, I guess their strategy or what's going on? They're just curious about your take on that as well.
No, I mean, I think that Ukraine is doing phenomenal work. I think we are seeing that Russia was nowhere near as in terms of nowhere near as lethal as tactically sound as we thought that they were, and as we gave them credit for. Advanced, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's like everything that they have thrown at Ukraine has been stopped. I mean, Russia broke the 410,000 losses. Triple that to get the amount of wounded in action. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's brutal for Russia, and we can continue to hear things like, well, Vladimir Putin will end up taking Europe. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that they really want to cross over into Poland. Poland is got a very large military. They're well trained. And the moment that they cross into the NATO countries, then it's on. And Russia knows it. Russia cannot beat Ukraine. Right. Russia cannot beat Ukraine with everything that they have.
Yeah.
So,
they're borrowing from Iran and North Korea. The irony is that, like Putin said in that interview with Tucker, and he said it before, that if the U.S. stopped backing Ukraine, the war would be over in 2 weeks, mainly because they'd be like, we could just roll in there and fucking kill everybody. That's not even true. I mean, it's dangerous if we were to. It would definitely be detrimental. But they still have to borrow shit from Iran and still have to borrow shit from North Korea because they're out of munitions and vehicles as well. Not to mention the
Yeah,
fucking men. Zelensky said this week they've lost 31,000 soldiers. That their casualty death rate is 31,000. That's a verifiable number that the Ukrainians are putting out. The Russians are at 408, I think, at the most recent count.
actually it's 410 now. It's 410.
410, motherfucker. Yeah, because I checked a day and a half ago, right? So, Jesus Christ, like less than 10%. You invaded a country that's like, the size of your pinky militarily, in theory, anyways, and they lose 10%, less than 10% of what you've lost. Not to mention the gear, not to mention the airplanes, not to mention the boats, and they don't even have a navy.
Yeah, they just shot down an AWACS.
Yeah, the
which
A-50.
is like, it's like $300 million in terms of technology. That's a huge loss.
Right.
They actually only have like 5 left now. I mean, every
and
day
they need
they
need them to patrol their borders. That's the ironic part. Those are major like radar and reconnaissance planes. So the current number is 410,700, 880 just since last night. God damn.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's like I look at these numbers and I think to myself, goodness gracious, man, they are practicing human waves. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. And I mean, you look at that. 6,555 tanks.
Tanks. They lost 13 tanks. They lost 13 tanks yesterday.
Yeah. There was about maybe 5 days ago. There was a day where they lost 1,280 people. They lost 70 armored personnel carriers.
Yeah.
It was like 48. They're only able to create something like 50 tanks a month.
Right.
And they're losing 50 tanks every 5 days.
Yeah.
So they're falling behind on everything. We're hearing Ukraine is crossing the border. I don't know if you heard this or not, but Russia lost 3 aircraft because Russians basically went into a hangar and left the front door open, and Ukraine did a UAV right through the damn open door and destroyed three jet air fighters.
Right. Chris is asking, could you ask the Major what he thinks Putin's next move is? And that's the question of the year.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm waiting. Putin is going to continue sending human waves to an environment where it's literally they're refighting World War I. We're literally looking at trench warfare. We're looking at trains as being the mode of transportation for supplies. I think that right now he's got to continue. He has to continue down this path. He cannot be truthful and let the Russian people know that he has killed over 410,000 of their sons and daughters, because that's who's fighting and dying, the sons and daughters of Russia. And I think that the moment that it comes, because we've already seen the wives show up and protest Vladimir Putin because they want their husbands to come home. When they realize that their husbands are not coming home because their husbands are dead, I believe that's what's going to happen, and I believe that's how this ends. This ends with Vladimir Putin being done just like Benito Mussolini, where they drag his freaking carcass through the freaking streets of Russia.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious to me, the difference between him and Saddam Hussein. It essentially is just the financial ability to have a bug out plan, and right. That's it.
I love it. That's good.
That's it. That's the only thing. Like fucking Putin has a bug out plan, so I follow a bunch of these like Telegram channels and all this shit, both Russian and Ukrainian, so I can compare the conversation that's being had over at the reality of what they're posting, that kind of stuff. And I gotta say, like, first of all, the amount, does every side kind of, speak in propagandist language a little bit? Sure. Everybody puts a positive spin. I don't think that qualifies as propaganda. I think a lot of people are just trying to keep people focused and motivated is different from total propaganda. The Russians are just fucking straight propaganda. It's fucking weird because on the one hand they'll show videos of like them, bombing a building that is clearly an apartment building. With like, this is where a nest of the Ukrainians Nazis are, and then the next thing they'll show some guy in Donetsk with a little like high school band getting new saxophones like 8 blocks away, and you're like, okay, this is nutty Soviet bullshit. That said, the back and forth, and there's always a big, like, the mill bloggers, if they start disagreeing at all with what the Russians, the general consensus is, the message, they just end up dead. Like, they just vanish. There've been a couple of these Russian mill bloggers that I followed. They're just gone. They just stopped broadcasting. And I'm sure if, if I had a better Russian channel, I'd be able to find them. But one of the channels I follow is this guy who's supposedly, and he's quoted sometimes by the Institute of Study of War, and Julia Davis will sometimes, react to some of these things. And it's, you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's coming from within the country. It's coming from within Russia. But they've been talking, this guy talks all the time about which double is where, and, which double is speaking for Putin, and which one did the actual interview with Tucker versus the other one, and which one's the good one they allow to talk, and the other guy that just waves at little gatherings and shit like that. I always take that shit with a grain of salt. I think it's, it's kind of, I doubt it. I doubt most of it. But I guarantee he's got a couple, whether they're convincing or not, whether they're the kind that do interviews, whether that, they're swapping out FaceTime with world leaders, I doubt. But I guarantee they're the kind that ride around in cars. And those, like, all I can think of is History of the World Part 1, the French Revolution, where they find the piss boy, and, Your Highness, you look like the piss boy, and you look like a bag of shit. No, I mean, you literally look like the piss boy. And then, yeah, right. Bloop. I'll get it later. But that's the, do I think he's going to have somebody fill in for him for weeks while people are still looking for him? No. But do I expect one of these dickheads will end up getting on an airplane while waving, and then the airplane just fucking vanishes? Yeah, very possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. For all we know, he's getting his face filled with, like, filler so that when he disappears and it all goes away, you'll go like, that's not him. That's just some skinny dude who kind of looks like Putin used to look like.
New Argentinian resident.
Oh, totally. Yeah, right. He's gonna like take little submarine rides down to the Arctic Circle and visit, the German snow camp that's there.
With what you just said, also, I have to say, it also, the whole Epstein thing. I mean,
right. I don't think he's dead either. That's always bugged me.
This is the Billionaire Boys Club, is what this is. Right. And you know what? To get to crack that egg, there's a lot of power and a lot of money to keep people quiet, and it's a shame.
Yeah, but, and fear and danger.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a couple more questions. Monica says, "What's his bug out? China or North Korea?" I don't think either. I think we're talking about like the hills of Dagestan or some sort of breakout area, or I don't even know. Like, changing is totally like South America and bouncing around Africa to South America back and forth until some real Nazi hunters find his ass. Is my guess.
Yeah. I don't see him. I'll tell you right now. There's nobody wanting to go to North Korea. Everybody pretty much knows that these are places that are going to be troubled. So I'm thinking probably South America or South Africa or something like that.
Right.
But he'll find him another, But I think it makes a lot of sense what you said. Somebody's going to say, "Hey, goodbye" on the plane, and then it's going to blow up, and that's going to be how the rest of the world now remembers Vladimir Putin. But,
right. Yeah. And isn't it ironic he died like Prigozhin did, who very well might be alive somewhere too? Like that dude, again, we're talking about people who are allegedly military tacticians who played on the edges of power and danger for long periods of time, and then they just suddenly forget about it and go, "Nah, he's my friend. I can get on this airplane." It just seems sketchy to me. And the idea that, and I think, it's always going to be a conspiracy theory and kind of a nice sit around at a restaurant table talking about it, but you'll never know about, like, Epstein manages to end up going to federal jail when Trump is buddy, who apparently could never live less than 20-minute cab ride for that motherfucker his
Yeah.
whole life. When that guy's in power, suddenly that's when he gets taken into federal custody, and then he passes away and is never seen again, and then whoop, that's it. He's gone.
Yeah.
That's the part that I find sketchy, is the sort of timing of it. And again, when Trump, himself puts hires the guy who was it Alex Acosta, the guy who gave him the sweetheart deal, gave Epstein the deal that allowed him to like check out of the fucking jail, basically have a key to it and come and go as he pleased, just go in on the weekends, right? Again, these are things you can never know, and they're going to be like over beverage conversations for the rest of our lives. But I have to tell you, and I think you would agree, that if either of us were evil and a billionaire, the idea that you could actually be caught gets really hard. Unless you're fucking dumb, and most of these people don't get there, right?
Yeah. You can't sit and say that these are all people that are the salt of the earth, good. There's a lot of these people that get where they are because of the things that they have done, and it's not exactly good things.
Right. Especially those guys. Jesus Christ. It goes, Rob H says, you think Putin doesn't have a safe house somewhere in the stands? Yeah, well, that's the idea. Dagestan, Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan's less of an option.
Yeah, but see, but those areas also, you talk about Dagestan and places like that, there's still a lot of pain in those places that they experienced at the hands of Russia. So don't just assume, just because I think it's Dagestan that has that one leader that's literally, shines Putin's boots. That guy's already had to try to distance himself since Ukraine has been invaded. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, the leaders in those areas, when they're done, they usually disappear. And I'm going to tell you, don't think that Vladimir Putin has the ability to go to those places and live happily ever after. Because if he does leave and he's hidden and it's all like that, the last thing he wants is for people to recognize him. And there's going to be very few places for him to go. And I'll tell you right now, I'm telling you, Dagestan and places like that are not it.
Right. Yeah. I often think about, one of my dream houses is the Hydra compound from the first Captain America movie. It's in the mountains in Austria, built into the side of it and stuff. And obviously you have to fly these impossible super jets run with, fucking gem energy or some shit to even fly in there. But just the idea of living in kind of this carved out mountain has been an idea, that's been around as a joke in Bond films and a dream in like Ayn Rand books for a long time. And so a bunch of these motherfuckers, once you get, I don't know, your 10th billion, they really start thinking about it. Look at Peter Thiel and his fucking, I'm going to buy an oil rig off the offshore of California and just declare it a fucking country and give it a flag and all that kind of stuff and not charge myself, and then the funny part is and then what? Refuse to sign a security pact with the United States so that when pirates show up, the Coast Guard doesn't do anything about it. You fucking stupid, But that he did that shit, and he's not even Putin rich, right? These motherfuckers have these kind of bug out plans, right?
I've said this for a long time. It's not their bug out plans are already operational. Right. A billionaire that lives. I actually have a friend that I guess he still is a billionaire. Yeah, really good guy. He actually let me take him around southern West Virginia. Nice. But I will tell you that he lives
in the trunk of your car, I assume, while you were waiting for the ransom to be dropped in the stove at the edge of town.
Yeah, that's it. Nobody would pay. But I mean, he has a home. They all, the filthy, the richer, these people, they're in America, they're enjoying living in America, but make no mistake about it, if America fell tomorrow,
Yeah.
These are the people that would walk out their back door, get in their little jet, and they would take off. And they would
Right.
fly to, Luxembourg. They would fly to Liechtenstein. They would
Yeah.
fly to places like that because everybody in Luxembourg and Liechtenstein are millionaires. They're going to go there and they're going to ride it out.
Yeah.
They're going to ride it out while we're over here fighting and kicking and screaming and scratching and doing everything we can to bring back our democracy and save ourselves. They're going to watch us have to basically put in all the work. And then the moment that we are able to regain control and the United States is now back on track, they'll come back and then expect to come back and be in some type of leadership
be welcomed,
role.
right? Yeah, well, that's again the irony is that and I've always said this is like Democrats treat America like the home they have a mortgage on. That they know, okay, we got to make sure there's upkeep and the pipes work and all that kind of stuff because we live here and we're planning on staying. And Republicans, especially the upper echelon crowd, not the people like the lower middle class that have been bullshitted into thinking they're Republicans because of guns. By the way, if you check what Putin does in terms of guns, if you want a Putin-like country, but the idea that these folks, most of them treat America like renters. They're just trying. Trump is always acting like somebody who's trying to get his security deposit back from the fucking country, right? But you got poster holes in the wall, so you fill it with toothpaste because by the time they figure out that you didn't plaster the holes you made, it's too late. That kind of shit. It's amazing to me. Meanwhile, if I may, the NASDAQ has set a new record. The Dow has set a new record.
Every day.
Oil is stagnating at basically $77. Like it's wavering back and forth in there, which considering two oil-based wars, essentially, not directly related to oil, but in the region where it matters. Russia specifically is an oil supplier, and in the Middle East, this used to be a guarantee it would jack the fucking price up through the roof. But there's two things that are keeping that from happening. One is American output. The other is America and Europe lessening our use of oil through renewables. And that is the difference. That's what's making these fights not as as profitable as they used to. It's amazing that oil has hummed around 77, 75 bucks a barrel, considering, right? It's amazing to me. And then don't get me started on the fucking Chinese economy. Fucking hell. It got so much worse. I was literally, before the Bobulinski thing came out this morning, I was going to mention, talk about quant trading this morning, which would put everyone to sleep. But if you don't know what quant trading is, it's computerized trading. It's how most things are done with like algorithm trading, where it watches how the market's going. And if it goes, if it tips one way or the other, it looks at the history of that thing and goes, okay, if it's down 1%, that means it's going to go down 3%. So we'll sell and we'll rebuy at this. And it's just kind of automatically doing it all the time. This is day trading software. China has halted all quant trading in the country effectively because it has crashed their stock market 3 times in 24 hours. Because based on history and how bad things are going, it's like all the algorithms are like, ripcord, get the fuck out, like sell, turn those machines back on. Like it just, like every time they turn it on, it goes down, and they're like, turn it off. And then, okay, we turn it off. Everything's fine. Okay, turn it back on. Down, and it just does it again. They've lost, between, and it depends on who you believe and what money actually exists, $3 and $6 trillion in the last 18 months in their stock market alone.
Wow.
Their youth unemployment in the cities is 58%. It's 24% nationwide. People 18 to 27, they don't even have enough of these motherfuckers, and even they're out of a job.
Wow.
And so the idea that they're going to send waves of bodies into the water towards Taiwan or anywhere else for that fucking matter is nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it's China and Russia Russia has really stepped on their crank with this war, and it's exposed Russia of basically not being the adversary that we thought that they were.
Yeah.
So they've been exposed. Now, China, same thing. These are
Yep.
two nations that are on a very destructive path. And, if you looked at the United States, China, and Russia, I mean, it looks to me like two of them's about to fall off the top.
Yeah, I mean, there was an article in I want to say it was Bloomberg, but it might have been MarketWatch yesterday, but basically like how they keep trying to prop the ruble up with all kinds of shit. They're stealing gold from Sudan and bringing it in. They're backfilling. They're using gold instead of foreign currency because nobody wants Chinese currency right now, and China's forcing them to take it and only buy shit from China with it. So it's like it's not even a currency. It's like a Starbucks card. Like you can't spend it anywhere else. It's the worst kind of unilateral trade you could possibly do, right? And the Indians got wind of this and went, you know what? We don't have to buy oil in rubles. You buy it in rupees. Fuck you. If you're doing that with the Chinese, we got more money than they do. Fuck you. And so Russia started having to buy, rupees. Well, and India's a strong economy, but it's a 1-to-1 human being economy. It's 1 billion people. A huge amount of them are in poverty who use it to buy day-to-day shit. It's not this giant, trading currency that you could sit on reserves of it the way other ones are. It's just, and the BRICS idea, dude, last year, these motherfuckers, Glenn Beck and all these motherfuckers were all telling you and me that the dollar is going to die and the BRICS currency, they're going to create a fucking magic crypto that's going to destroy everything. And Jesus Christ, like nothing, just like the worst kind of nothing. It's amazing to me. None of them are walking it back. All of them are, most of them don't even fucking bring it up anymore. They just stop talking about it. But if they do bring it up, they're like, any day now. I'm like, yeah, right after Jesus comes back. Dude, it's not going to happen on your fucking watch. It's the weirdest thing. Okay, here, I'll show you real quick. This is the article I was talking about this morning. China's, this is just like, so you remember like Japan was going to kick the United States' ass in the late 80s? Remember that? Remember like Chrysler and all that stuff, and everybody was staring down the barrel of Toyota and Honda, and we were never going to have another business. And then what happened? Japan over-leveraged themselves, 91 hit, and they got the rug pulled out from under them, and they still have not recovered. Their economy's strong. I would argue it's financially bigger than China's because of my pat of butter versus slice of bread analogy. Because again, America has a whole pat of butter and a whole slice of bread, and we are able to cover the whole thing. It might be a little thin in places, but it covers the whole fucking thing. China has 2/3 the size of a pat of butter we have and 10,000 slices of bread. So fuck off with this, all that. Well, Japan's got a cracker. So just like Sweden does and stuff. They got they got half a pat of butter, but they got a cracker. They're doing just fine. But back then, they were going to overtake us, just like China was, right? And then that took a shit because they over-leveraged themselves. And that's right. Okay, look, China's, nobody's going to give a shit about this in the regular news. Like, it's going to come up in the economic shit, and then it's going to go away. This is. I just want to show you how fucking crazy things are in China right now. China's quant clampdown risks damaging fragile market for years. The fragile market they're talking about is all of their stocks. Yes, and thanks to Biden policies, you're absolutely right. China has had the rug pulled out from under. Japan was an accident. And Japan had friends in the world, right? When Japan crashed, the U.S. was there to give them loans and all kinds of stuff. We didn't have any hate for them. Everybody in the world is like, sucks to be you, China. A sudden crackdown has sparked a frenzy as quant funds suffer losses. It's adorable. That's their description of this. I got it. Chinese hedge funds were looking forward to a holiday break from the market turmoil when trouble started brewing last month. One manager had his short-selling orders abruptly rejected by brokers. Another was cut off from the stock market completely. Regulators turned up on trading floors at multiple funds to monitor transactions in person. As one fund put it, 3 sessions of chaotic trading felt like a whole year to us. The scenes, extraordinary, even by the standards of a market that has been long operated under the Communist Party's shadow, played out in recent weeks in a clampdown that's rewriting the rules of computer-driven trading in China. The country's once booming quant industry has become the latest casualty of Beijing's campaign to stop a $4 trillion sell-off in stocks. Okay. Dude, one of the reasons why we used to kiss the Saudis' ass so much is because they had $1 trillion in our. This isn't a trillion yuan, by the way. This is 4 trillion US. U fucking S. And the Saudis used to have $1 trillion in our stock market, which was one of 9, right? When it was $9 trillion. It was scary. If they took that trillion out, our entire economy would crash. Now, people who have Robinhood accounts have $2 trillion in the U.S. economy. People who do trading on their phone and buy I'll buy an Apple stock, that kind of shit, they have $2 trillion. Those guys have more of an impact than the fucking Saudis do. And even then, it was like if the Saudis pulled out tomorrow, there'd be a day of what the fuck here? And then all the Robinhood guys would go, buy, and it'd all be bought up in an afternoon. Spread out across a bunch of people. Yeah.
Can you see any type of similarities in reference to the fall of the Soviet Union? Because they actually, if you realize, or if you ever go, and I spent 55 days last year traveling all across Europe, and I went down into the Balkans. I went to, Belgrade, Serbia, Macedonia. I've been to those places, and all of those places have a pretty strong taste of Soviet control, where their buildings, the construction that was done, you can look, the churches, you're like, wow, these are all, you look like you're in mini Moscow in a lot of places. And, I sit here and I think now, because, I was just, a young kid. I was 18 years old when the fall of the wall took place. And I'm sitting here thinking, a big part of that probably would be because of the extended footprint that they had. And it just come back on them. They not only could they not maintain that, but it hit them all at once, and they pretty much lost it all. And that's pretty much how Russia ended up, losing the Cold War.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, and also the tighter you try to it's like, you're trying to squeeze water. You're trying to strangle sand as it's slipping through your hands. So the tighter their grip gets, the slipperier it gets. They just can't hold on, and they keep trying to do it. Now, real quick, this is a question for the chat room, and then Tara's waiting in the wings, and I want to thank Major for being with us. TurnLeftPack.org. Please follow. Get yourself some Jackaloon merch. I will be I intend to wear one of those shirts at least one of the Sexy Liberal gigs that is coming up in the future. It's going to happen. Trust me.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Send me a pic, brother. Send me a pic.
I might even do some sweaty workout ones in a cutoff one. If I reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm just saying.
Let's do it, folks. Let's do it, folks.
Yeah.
Let's do it, folks.
That's right. So real quick before I bring in, I think Tara's waiting in the wings, but she's not here yet. But as soon as I hear her, I'll bring her in. So real quick, chat room. What do you think the percentage ratio GDP to debt that the U.S. has? How much debt do we have versus our GDP? Is it 120%? Is it 150% of GDP? Is it, what's the number that you hear? And I want to see the chat come up with this real quick. I'll give them a second so we can look at them. I don't know if the Major. I'll jump in here. I'm sure we have some maggots in the crowd that I'd love to hear it from you guys. I'd love to, and don't look it up. Don't look it up, you crazies. What's the percentage versus, 135, I'm seeing 20%. That's a little low, Carl. 200%, that's one here. What you hear from Fox, 1,000%. Right, that is often, we'll hear probably 150% a lot, right? That's the number we're way over it. We can't afford this. You hear this because we don't have, our debt to GDP is just it's overwhelming, right? Okay. It is, there's 100%, 130%, 33%. There's some people are lowballing on purpose. 11 billion, 59%, 100%, 100 billion%. There you go. Well, let me show you real quick. This is according to the U.S. federal debt will reach a record of 116% of gross domestic product by 2034, up from 93% today. It is under 100. Debt to GDP. It is below 100%. So just settled on that. And this is from an article that says the CBO can basically make up a number they want you to think, because they're trying to, the Republicans in the House are, this is their argument of why there won't be a lowering of the interest rates, because the Republicans in the House don't want there to be one right now. They want to wait until Trump gets back in office or whoever, they just want to make, or it's too late and it's next year and then they'll just fight. It could have been a lot better if we'd had somebody else. 93%. That's where it is. That's GDP versus, our debt. What do you think China's is? This is another question, chat room. Real quick. What do you think? Don't cheat. Don't look. What do you think? Remember, China owns all of our debt, right? That's the idea. By the way, to answer that one real quick, they own 8%. They have 8% of our debt. China has 8%. And you know how they have 8% of our debt? They buy bonds like anybody else. Yes. Everybody's jumping in. Yeah. 6%, 150,000. Yeah, you guys are giving giant numbers because you know better. This is my audience. All right, maybe put it this way. What do you think Fox viewers think that China's debt to GDP ratio is? Just ballpark. What do you think? Let me show you real quick, if I may. Ladies and gentlemen, China's debt to GDP ratio. Again, the United States, 93%. If we don't have a change in interest rates, which we obviously will, we'll get to 116% if we have stagnant growth and nobody opens a new business between now and 2034. China's debt to GDP ratio climbs to a record 287.8% in 2023. Macro leverage ratio rises 13.5 percentage points just from a year earlier.
Wow. Almost
300% debt to GDP. And that's a country that supposedly has 1 billion fucking people. Get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. I just want people to carry that around with them in their head when they're seeing economic news this week and a bunch of people going, Bidenomics has failed, and every time Trump says she's a genius, Xi Jinping is a genius. He's sharp as a tack and he rules a country of 1 billion people. All right. What does paragraph 3 say? Paragraph 3 says the expansion of overall leverage ratio has outpaced the growth of borrowing. The total liabilities of the household, corporate, and government sectors expanded at a slower pace of 9.8% in 2023, largely unchanged from 2022, and remain at a relatively low level according to the report, which is 287.8%. That's it. The change over the year has been 10%. The debt ratio held by household rose 1.3% points to 63.5%, while that of non-financial corporates increased 6.9% to a leverage of 168.4% of GDP. They're banks, non-financial corporations. They're not even including banks in this, which are leveraged out the ass. They're talking about Countrywide and all these fucking, and Evergrande. 168%. They have debt equal to 168% of the Chinese economy. And then the government debt ratio, meanwhile, expanded 5.3 percentage points to 55.9%. It is insane. The idea that these assholes, are somehow like sharp as a tack and everything's running just fine. What the fuck do you know? It's what the fuck do you know o'clock everywhere. I gotta say, it's just important for people to carry around some real facts when confronted with this shit. And I'm going to bring on Tara in just one moment. I want to thank the Major for being with us. Thank you, brother, for being here on this lovely Monday. I always love talking to you. I feel like I talked over you because I had so much in my brain today.
Brother, no. Let me tell you something. This is also for me. Brother, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. You're an educator, man. You really are. I get a lot from coming on here, and I really appreciate you inviting me on these Mondays because I really enjoy it. And I'll tell you what, I always walk away with something that I did not know, and you just did that. So I appreciate
Thanks, brother. That means a lot. And I permit me to respond in kind. There's absolutely the fact on my side as well. So everybody, give big love to Major and follow him. You're on his just go to turnlifepack.org. All the links are there. Follow through, and I've kept Tara waiting.
8:30 Eastern Standard Time every night on YouTube and Facebook. Ojeda Live. I'll see y'all. Everyone.
There you go. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All right, take care. Cheers. And then we'll bring out. There she is. Look at that. Boink. Why did my screen? Oh, that's why. Because I have to turn off the transition thing, and then the screen will come back. Ta-da! Hi.
Ta-da! Hi.
There she is. What's going on?
She is.
Yeah. Hold on.
Hey, happy Monday, everybody.
Right.
My mom might be watching today, Hal.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'll watch my language or not watch my language. I'll go not.
I think I learned how to swear from.
That's a good point. Excellent point. Yeah. Because you do it very well. It
is an elevated art form, is it not?
I insist.
It should be anyway.
Hi. I noticed you are wearing a celebratory New York shirt today. Which I appreciate. Well,
first of all, my mother is in New York. All my family is in New York, so I'm celebrating that. If she's watching, hi, mommy. I wore blush for you. Anyway, not that she's amazing. Not enough blush. A little more. But also Letitia James.
Yeah.
Elevate. Let's appreciate. Let's exalt her to the heavens, my Shira Letitia, because every single day, not only does she bring down the hammer. Every single day she's tweeting how much interest Donald Trump is accruing on the judgment. So if you're following Letitia James on Twitter, which you should be, every single day it's just like 100,000 blah, 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 100 and blah, blah, blah. Because every day that he's not paying because he can't pay because he's broke, he's accruing interest on the judgment.
Yeah.
Ching, ching, ching. And it goes up every 2 seconds, and there is a Trump debt counter that you can look at and just watch it go, like the national debt thing in New York on the thing.
Oh, that's great.
Where it's every second it turns over, and they're like, holy shit, the national debt. Soon, what Trump owes in the national debt will be the same number. It'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
Right? I'm enjoying that. And just the fact that New Yorkers are embracing how broke he is. Plus, there's that loser trucker who was like, we're not delivering nothing to New York because New York took a judgment out on dear leader. New York's doing fine, thank you. They're getting their produce and their goods and services, and everybody's fine. Thank you so much. I think New York actually thrives without Donald Trump and has proven that for decades. Because when has Donald Trump been successful in New York? When has New York taken advantage of Donald Trump to make money? Never. Not when people are selling off apartments in Trump buildings and they're removing his name from buildings. And now Letitia James is probably going to go after his properties because he can't pay what he owes because he's broke. He's bankrupt. He's an adjudicated rapist fraud. What's the matter with everybody? Okay, there it is.
There it is.
Look at that.
The Donald Trump
keep
debt
backing
live
the
tracker.
loser, though. Want to buy some sneakers? Because that's going to help. Shitty sneakers.
Why wouldn't it go down for every pair of sneakers that sells on eBay, for example, for thousands upon thousands of dollars?
Is it because none of that money would go to him? Is it because that?
Yes.
Is it that?
Right.
Is it really that? It's like they found a Payless in Panama City Beach, and there was a clearance bin of old, what's the word, New Balance. I don't know. What's a really low grade sneaker, and they just spray painted them all golden red. Never surrender, says the guy who surrendered at least 4 times last year and was arrested and has a prisoner number. So it's okay to keep grifting us. We love you. You're Jesus. Are you? I don't think so. And
Temu shoes. Yeah. They're
the Temu, right? So I'm just and it would be really, really, really nice as both Jeff T-Drick and I pointed out today on our Substacks. Could the MSM just report on Donald Trump accurately now? Can they please? Oh,
Right.
Joe Biden is 81. Look at this guy. He looks like someone left a nectarine in the garage for a year and then slapped it on top of a suit and propped it up on a podium. Why did I just get really big?
I did that. I did that. Sorry.
Why, don't do that. Me. No one wants that.
Sorry, I'm
no
fixing
one needs
something.
To be scared by me.
Nobody will. I promise. I'll fix it. Don't worry. I'm just.
I just want my mother to be able to see that I'm wearing blush.
Yeah.
Anyway, all I'm saying is, why do you keep giving Donald Trump money? Why do you keep backing him? I'm old enough to remember when someone an adjudicated fraud would be a bad look.
I will not.
It's a bad look for the party.
Talk these people out of it.
But the people who were like in Congress, who it matters that this is your guy, this molting.
They can't see what little money they're getting from their constituents and whatever the fuck they're going to stop getting if they ever come out against him, and not to mention the fucking death threats they get and shit. Like, look at that.
Bad to blackmail the entire Republican Party. It would be nice if they just kind of there's more of them than him. He's just one guy. So, it's not, I mean, did you see the picture of Lindsey Graham and Nancy Mace together just looking miserable? Looking miserable at the South Carolina primary. Wouldn't it be nice if the MSM covered the South Carolina primary accurately? Oh, did Donald Trump win? Not really. Nope. When barely anyone voted for him and he barely squeaked out, while 96% of Democratic voters happily voted for Joe Biden in the Democratic primary in South Carolina. But that doesn't matter, MSM. And also, when they put the thing that also annoyed me, as Jeff and I also pointed out on our Substack, when they put up photos of Donald Trump versus his political opponents, here's Donald Trump, here's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley still pretty much looks like the picture in the photo. They're still using his photo from 2016 when he was running against Hillary, where his face was maybe not as orange, but definitely not as modeled as it is now, and he wasn't as bad. Don't be using those old photos. Use the one from this weekend where he was like, I can't see any black people.
Oh my God. Fucking hell!
White.
I gotta say, it's really difficult to actually find shit. When I went through for the first time in a while. I went through a whole on Friday before my my Flapper show. I went through a whole Trump blather, and it was before he went and spoke to that group. And I was so glad that I hadn't seen it before my show, because I have to say I don't get offended. I really don't. But I can get nauseated and disgusted. And I marveled at the idea that he thought that was fine. That the holy shit, and him in the moment
blacks.
Going, the lights are so bright, I can't see anybody. Because it's dark.
And most of the people there were actually white.
And
it was supposed to be a black conservative group.
What? I think that's what he was saying. I think he accidentally kind of said what was really happening because he's fucking stupid. I think he was like, I'm talking to a big group of black voters or whatever. And in his mind, he was like, the lights must be bright because I can't see any black people.
Where's my African American?
Right, because it was all the fucking white people. And then he, at the same time, was sort of aware of how that sounds possibly as it was coming out a little bit. He wasn't sure why it would make people upset, but he figured that sounds like something people have gotten mad at me for before. Right? You know what I mean?
Do you think? And also saying how the blacks love him because he's been arrested so many times.
Oh my God.
Wow, the sneakers, because they love
this
sneakers.
Motherfucker.
I'm not Major Ojeda, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
I'm very proud of his service. I wish I can't brag like that. There I am. Anyway, but the blacks, I can't even. The blacks love him because he's been arrested and they love sneakers. What? Right. Where was the watermelon and the fried chicken there?
Oh,
Happy racist. What the fuck? Seriously.
Well, let's start with the fact that Donald Trump cannot talk about black voters or black citizens of this country without bringing in criminal justice reform every time. Because to him, that's the only way he sees them at all. Like that, you know what I mean? Like there are no. I would be interested. You know how people sometimes are like, "Hey, what's your favorite Bible verse?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really want to say because he doesn't know any." I would be fascinated if Ben Carson isn't standing by, like, give us a job you think black people have that they do for a living, or whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Or Tim
right?
Scott.
You're right. Without them standing nearby, where
Really
you go,
wants to be Trump's VP.
Senator, member of my cabinet kind of person that I talk. Hey, I like the idea that he just cannot talk about like the economic issues facing black people, or how about just lead pipes in certain neighborhoods? How about just like potholes? You know, like anything people who live in cities deal with, like a myriad of things that he'll be shocked to find out.
You're talking about the guy who wouldn't rent to black people. He wouldn't rent apartments to black people in New York.
And his dad literally got sued by the Justice Department.
Central Park 5. And then people will come back with like, one time he dated a black woman. Well, she was a supermodel or something, like a model, and they dated for 5 seconds. And everything he does is for a photo op, right? So he will only take photo ops with people of color who are in an elevated political position or are famous in some way, which is why he was fine with Kanye.
Well, I mean, there's an idea of like useful members of a group that the rich, especially anybody who's working for power, will always seek to kind of get closest to, with the eye of eventually muscling them out of the way, is the theory.
Because he's not going to use Tim Scott as his VP. He's not. He's going to use Tim Scott to try to drum up votes in South Carolina. That's fine. Right. And maybe court some of the conservative black vote, but conservative black is like vegans for steak. I don't get it. And I don't get any Republicans, but certainly not any minority Republicans when the party on a whole doesn't see them. And continues to prove that with Nimrod and Nikki Haley. They're not going to support her ever. We already know that.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's staying in to expose who Trump is, but then at the same time also supports a more severe national abortion ban than he does, and thinks frozen embryos are children. So that's a craziness.
He's mad that his actual, what he believes is a compromise, that the word got out, that was going to be his compromise, and he was pissed about it because he knows, and it's the same thing with like the idea of having Nikki Haley or Vivek as his VP, not going to happen, because he knows in the modern Republican Party, especially MAGA, you lose more votes bringing someone like that on than you gain. You're not going to get any Democrats coming over and siding with you for bringing them in, and you're going to lose 30% of MAGA.
And I think now the short list now includes Kristi Noem, who I don't know if you've seen her lately, but she apparently went to Donald Trump's plastic surgeon and asked for the Alina Habba because her face is completely different. It's not going to be trashy Elise Stefanik because she's not pretty enough. Donald Trump is not going to put some dumpy. She's a bucket of trash. She's not pretty up, and neither is Marge.
She's a normie, and look, he picked Pence because he had the Access Hollywood tape dug a hole for him with evangelicals, was the idea, and everybody around him told him you could patch that hole by bringing in Pence, and all he's going to do is look like the sun shines out of your ass, and he'll never try to take your job, and that was it. He's only got, he knows this too. He's only got one term. No matter who he brings in is going to be running the next time. No matter who it is, they're going to be running. He's not going to be able to elbow them out of the way like he did with Pence, near the end of his presidency. They're going to...
they can always build a gallows for them, though, behind the Capitol.
Jesus.
Well, which is, that's normal.
Even still, but the idea is that he's in vetting everybody. I swear to God, this motherfucker, we're this close to him saying, I don't need a VP. Like,
I'd be surprised if he didn't. Look at all of the people who are on the short list. There's things that you can say about all of them. And my favorite thing to say about Kristi Noem, aside from the fact that she's horrible, and when I use her name, I write it as KKK. So it's Kristi.
Sure.
She had She had an affair with Corey Lewandowski. She cheated on her husband with Corey the schlong Lewandowski,
Oy.
who, I mean, and that's disgusting. And that will, if he actually chooses her as his running mate, which is again all optics, because he's going to be sitting in court for the rest of his miserable life.
Right.
If he genuinely chooses her, it is incumbent upon all of us to constantly remind everybody that her husband is a beta cook, thanks to Corey Lewandowski. Who else is she gonna bang on the staff? What else? What other troops is she gonna stoop for? I have no problem framing her that way because that's what she did. That is the truth. Marjorie Taylor Greene also cheated on her husband repeatedly at her own gym. Like, he's a Christian who protects children. I don't think so.
Same thing with
like
Palin.
paid escorts and Ted Cruz's little butt buddy. And I'm not being facetious there. She's his butt buddy. She will do the dirty things that Heidi wouldn't do, and that's how we got her. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not. She won't. And
right. No.
She can't.
I understand.
That the American muckrakers who are going after her, their case to continue to go after her, she apparently can't fight them now because she can't prove that she wasn't a paid escort. So that's moving forward, and like her ties to Ted Cruz and all of that.
I would argue, kind of like in the Lindsey Graham world, there are things in these people's lives that a lot of us wouldn't give a rat fuck about, and certainly wouldn't castigate them for, or portray them as awful or below average members of society in any measure for those kind of things, for their activities sexually or personally or any of that stuff.
We have talked about this before.
Yep.
Sex work, legit work, should be unionized, organized. They should have 401ks and health care and all that.
Agreed.
Don't pretend you're not doing that, Lauren.
Henry Winkler could be the spokesperson for that whole plan. Because remember, in Night Shift, he made sure they had dental. That's the important.
Not pimps. They're love brokers.
Love brokers. Ha ha. So, but the point is that it's their kind of, I mean, their hypocrisy, of course, but they're sort of like this artificial piety that they hold over other people, with sort of a gross cruelty to it. It's another thing to be like somebody who's faking being above that because they used to do that in their old life and now they're all cleaned up and they've got judgment because they knew what it took to get out of it, so therefore, fuck you. These are people who are well beyond that, to the point where they're disgusted with who other people are, based on behaviors they themselves not only did, but do currently. For fuck's sake.
Every accusation is a confession. It's all projection language. That's all it's all Donald Trump does. It's all he's ever been doing. He's always told us what he's been doing right in front of us.
Yeah.
I don't know, MSM, maybe report on them accurately. I mean, it's just really important to be telling the truth at all times about all of these people and what they are really doing, not what you wish they weren't doing. I don't know. I don't know if you saw Kristen Welker yesterday, but Governor Studley Newsom was on Meet the Press with her, and he steamrolled right over her because she was like, but Joe Biden is old. Don't you think you should be running instead? And he was like, no, stop it. Stop helping the other side, run this discussion because this is what they want us to be talking about. And Kristen Welker is like, but Biden is old. And it's just like, fuck this already with the Biden is old. Stop it.
Well, I really do think they're burning down that talking point pretty early. You know how the American electorate's brain works? Well, that's the thing. It's like by the summer, nothing. Like that whole conversation.
That better be true.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
it needs to be true.
Well, what are Trump and his clan upset about ultimately? What are they mad about? Their October surprise, their fake laptop bullshit that they were going to spring on the country right before the election because it would give no one time to vet it and find out it was bullshit. There was trickles of it before, so that, it leaked out, little pieces of it leaked out, and so people were already ready to ask the right questions. And then when they tried to drop it, everybody went, you can't drop shit like this in October until we have a chance to look at it. And so, if anything, the Streisand effect made people look at the article in New York Post more than they even would have, considering it. But it didn't work. Ultimately, it was shit. It was a stupid story. Nobody cared. Yeah.
We just found out that their quote-unquote informant was fucking lying about everything about Hunter Biden. So, like, if the informant has been arrested, released, and rearrested, why aren't the Republicans who obtained the falsified information from that informant, why aren't they being arrested also? They did the same thing.
Well, it's funny that you would bring that up because Bobulinski, in his transcript, attached to this transcript that I read this morning was, and this is quite lovely, this is the notes of the FBI interview of Anthony Tony Bobulinski. And Anthony. And
why is there not one person in Donald Trump's universe that has a name that doesn't sound like a made-up character on a knockoff of The Sopranos? Seriously.
Yeah. So
Tacopino.
This might be Joey Taco Penis, as they call him. Bobulinski. This might I have a lot of favorite parts of this, but this is pretty great. Bobulinski proceeded to place 3 cell phones on the interview table and stated that he wanted to provide the cell phones to the FBI. The interviewing agents advised Bobulinski that they had forensic experts available to image the cell phones if he wanted to voluntarily provide the information to the FBI. Bobulinski asked the interviewing agents whether they were going to image the cell phones. By the way, in the testimony that he gave later, he testified already that he knew what all that meant even before they said it. So they said, we'd have to image them. And he goes, are you going to image them? And they're like, yes, we image them. And he's like, oh, image, what's that? Well, he had already hired a company, he said, beforehand to image it. And he was going to, yeah. All right, anyways. The interviewing agents advised Bobulinski that the phones would be imaged, such that the FBI would have a complete copy of the data on the cell phones. Bobulinski informed the interviewing agent that he did not have confidence that the information on the cell phones would be secure in the possession of the FBI, and he was unwilling to give the FBI a mirror image of the entire content of the cell phone. Bobulinski was reluctant because he had recently received threats against himself and his family, such that sometime in 2015, and they jumped to, I don't know, I think these pages are out of order. Posted emails related to a Miami meeting, including discussions between the split of the JV. Okay, anyways, this jumps around. But the point is that Bobulinski himself didn't want to give, he wanted to give screenshots that he had taken with his iPhone of the BlackBerry. He took pictures of what it said on the BlackBerry, and he was going to give that as evidence to the FBI. Now, 2 things. That's not evidence. That's a picture of a picture. Fuck you. Secondly, asshole, the idea that you don't want to give it over is completely suspect. That's a bunch of fucking red flags. So the idea is you're going to trust the FBI to take the information you're willing to give them, but you don't trust them to take the information you're not willing to give them. Okay. Then we go to Smirnov. So Smirnov obviously was communicating with these Russian handlers, and they found out about it because they got some of his communications, because the handler they had another guy they were handling who was a real informant who apparently passed on some shit and went, hey, by the way, if he says this, you might want to check it against this. And so they questioned him again. They were going to let that motherfucker slide. They were going to let him slide. If the Republicans hadn't asked for them to look into the FT-1023, he never would have happened. Smirnov never would have been arrested. But it was just because they were dogged about this. They got him arrested.
They're so inept. So they have this, and then they wouldn't let Hunter Biden testify publicly. So tell us about all of the nothing you actually have. Come on, just drop it already. And Comer and Jordan are still out there like, no, we've got this. It exists. It's real. Fuck you. No, it's not. I mean, stop it already. Like, the emperor never had clothes, and he was never going to help you, and you're never getting rewarded for your loyalty. And there is going to come a point where they're eventually going to have to choose covering their own asses or continuing to help Trump cover his. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll all end up choosing themselves, because, as we always say, he doesn't take anything for the team. So I want to know why the informant goes down, but not the Republicans who used his misinformation. Why are they still walking around free? Why is Ronald Romney walking around free? I'm mad about all of this treasoning right in front of us.
Well, So one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is being somebody who has spent a decent amount of time in China, and I would argue
every time you say it, I want you to go China.
Yeah, China, 中国,
you don't
which
have
is how
to.
you actually say it.
Do not have to say
中国, yeah. I think my favorite part of this is that the reason, and I'm sure you understand this, Tara. By the way, Tara Dublin rocks. Check out her book. Please buy it. Period. End of story. There it is. The Sound of Steadily.
We'll pick up the narrative about this in a moment.
Yes, we will.
Because there's stuff to talk about.
My favorite, I think my favorite part of the Bobulinski testimony, if you can call it that, was his whole thing about, like, I had to come forward because America needs to know that the Bidens were engaged in China stuff, and it's terrible that they were engaged with this company that they knew was linked to the CCP, and they okay. First of all, there are no companies in the entire country that aren't linked to the CCP. That's how it fucking works over there. Everything. The degree has been, since Xi Jinping took over, that net has been tightening. There was always a tacit kind of like, we'll have a minder nearby, but now there are guys at every other cubicle. That's how they're running shit now. It wasn't always like that. It transitioned to that. And around 2012 to 2016, that's when the transition was really starting. By the time Trump was in, it was just full speed ahead. So anybody who made money with a new deal in China or money coming out of there was getting it directly from the CCP, period. But he goes, throughout early 2016, Gilliar, that was one of the other partners in it, continued to provide updates to Bobulinski on the status of the investment deal. Around this time, Bobulinski learned the Chinese firm involved in the deal was CEFC, a Chinese energy company. CEFC was led by Chairman Yi Jianming, the guy who has a $5 million apartment in Trump World Tower right across from the UN that he's never set foot in, but he paid Trump $5 million for to just keep it empty.
That's weird.
That's fucking weird. Especially since he bought it in 2016.
Yeah. What else happened in 2016? I just can't think of
a lot of shit. Yi and CFC, he goes, Bobulinski was further aware in 2016 that Yi and CFC had strong ties to the Chinese government and the Chinese military. After Bobulinski learned CFC was the Chinese entity involved in the deal, Bobulinski changed his mind and became interested in partnering on the deal. Bobulinski changed his mind because Bobulinski knew Yi had access to sizable amounts of capital through his ties to the Chinese government. Huh?
Weird how a whole bunch of money can make you turn against your country. Is there an amount you would accept to be a traitor to the United States, Hal? Is there an amount of money that could purchase your loyalty to your country? Because I don't, as broke as fuck as I am, you could not pay me to commit treason.
Right. No.
Ever. For
silly.
Whatever secret you might think you have on me.
I just love that. That's the fucking notes the FBI wrote down in his interview. And by the way, the two FBI agents taking notes keyed with the other 5 that were in the room and go, is this, read what I wrote down. Is this how you heard it too? We're all here because they didn't record it. They couldn't record it. And he basically calls them liars at different points. But he admits to this being the timeline when he's talking about it in the thing. It's fucking hilarious. So let's be abundantly clear. What made the difference to him is that money started to flow. And he wasn't interested in it if they were just going to be in bed with the CCP, unless there was lots of money. All right. Here's the other thing. Does anybody know why the deal fell apart? Why it didn't fucking happen? And why he's fucking angry at James and Hunter Biden for defrauding him? It's because Hunter Biden and James Biden both insisted that if CEFC was going to do business in the United States, they had to set up a U.S. subsidiary. They had to build a company inside the United States that would be under the SEC rules in the United States. And they wouldn't fucking do it. How dare
they?
Right.
How dare they want to do things the right way legally above board with everybody able to check it out.
Exactly. And they said, if you don't do that, we're not doing the fucking deal. And guess what? The deal never fucking happened. And Bobulinski has been pissed ever since.
Oh my God. I am so tired of paying for everybody else's revenge fucks, Hal.
Right.
I mean, that's what it all
God
is.
damn.
Jesus Christ. Can it be over now? I mean, it's enough already.
When
does the truth matter to the Republican Party? When it doesn't corrupt, when it doesn't involve some sort of personal aspect of their lives being blown up, I guess, or again, going back to what could be so bad. What did you do, Mike Johnson? What did you do, Lindsey Graham? What'd you do? Just tell us what you did. It can't be as bad as compromising national security to cover your ass because you like to have sex with younger men. Who cares? As long as they're above the age of consent. Your consenting sexual acts are none of our business. We don't care. Don't let Donald Trump bully you. That's such weakness. Donald Trump blocked me in August of 2015 on Twitter. He's a fucking coward, afraid of all women. Just stand up to him. Push him over. He's off balance already.
No, I think they're waiting. You have to understand, at this point, there might have been a period, I agree, where that would have been functional for them, where they might have salvaged their career and and gotten away, distanced themselves. Now, I think it's abundantly clear watching his like parade of dementia that he's doing right now, that a bunch of these fuckers are like, oh, he's gonna drop. And when he's there, we'll just pretend we were always supportive of him. And then MAGA will scoop in behind us and we'll just pretend to be the natural heirs.
Turn him into bullshit. A martyr.
Right.
Which is worse.
Let him martyr himself with a cheeseburger. That's what honest to God.
On the toilet. He has to die on the toilet like Elvis with the phone in his hand and a half all Rage Caps Truth Social post just sitting there, just ready to go. And he just couldn't reach the send button or whatever they use over there. But I want him to die. If he's going to get to die, which is so an easy out for him, if he gets to do that, I want it to be as embarrassing as possible.
Well, it will involve soup in his pants. I mean, you could pretty much count on that.
I want him to have a public Mitch McConnell moment where he has no idea where he is for a good minute on camera.
I would argue that's most of his speeches these days. Real quick, so in the bottom of this thing, this is the other part of the notes. This is, and if you get a chance, I wish AI was slightly farther ahead, because I would love to like clone Dan Goldman's voice from some stuff and clone each of these people's voice and make like digital puppets of them to just watch this play out. Because it's Rachel's going to be great tonight. I have no doubt it will be great tonight because she loves reading transcripts, and there's some fucking
she loves to ask them out. She's great.
There's some goose eggs in here. It's fun. So he's mad because he said the FBI lied about him. This is what he said, and that's the whole thing about how he changed his mind about the deal. Well, he signed it in 2017, and he said he knew CEFC was part of the deal in 2016. So logically, he fucking changed his mind at some point. That had to happen, right? That had to. I don't know what the fuck argument he was thinking he was making, but whatever. Okay, so this is Bobulinski. He goes, Bobulinski learned that CEFC was involved in the deal during the April 2016 meeting in Las Vegas, Nevada. Present for the meeting. By the way, that's where they arrested Smirnoff. It's also where I am right now, but that's a tale for another time. Bobulinski, Gilyar, Rob Walker, worked in the Clinton. Walker worked in the Clinton administration. Was a good friend of Joe Biden and Jill Biden and Hunter. Walker's wife, Betsy Walker, and Jill Biden's personal assistant, Joseph Biden, was vice president of the United States. Walker acted as a proxy for the Biden family on business deals and investments. Big deal. Doesn't matter. And by the way, they put everything in a shell and didn't touch anything during the entire time he was vice president. They're doing the exact same thing when he's president. Trump has no room to wiggle on this at all. Yeah. Right. At the meeting in Las Vegas, Bobulinski learned CEFC's identity, but he did not learn the identity of the prominent American family they were talking about, which is supposedly the Bidens later on. Bobulinski subsequently learned that the family in question was the family of Joseph Biden. Specifically, Hunter Biden and James Biden were active participants in the investment opportunity. James Biden and Joseph Biden are brothers, whatever. Bobulinski first met members of the Biden family at a 2017 meeting in Miami, Florida. Bobulinski, Gilyar, Walker, Hunter Biden, and Yi all attended the meeting. Also in attendance was Director Jian Zhang, a CEFC director involved in forming a new business and capitalizing the request for CEFC. Okay, real quick. That's from the notes. That's from what he told the FBI. According to his testimony today, that's not true. He says he wasn't present at this meeting. He heard that's who was there later. The whole story about there being a diamond. Remember the diamond story that he got? And Zhang gave him a diamond and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Bobulinski originally in this said he was a witness to that. Now he just heard about it from other people.
I'm shocked to hear that someone in the Trump world is changing their story as they go
it's weird.
along.
And that
shocking.
It's funny.
What a weird way for innocent and transparent
yeah,
people to behave.
The other thing too is you're at that meeting, but you're not welcome. What? You're part of this whole thing. You're going to get 20% of this whole business, which, by the way, it's increasingly. I'm increasingly aware that like Bobulinski's felt like he made some. Whoops, we lost Tara for a second. Hopefully she'll. I hear you. I think you there. There she is. She popped back. Did you get a call? You're very popular.
Sorry, my mother called.
Oh, she knows you're on.
I have the do not disturb on.
Your mom's going to be able. Yeah, but your mom should be able to get through on do not disturb. That's fine. That's a good thing.
Mom, I love you. Don't call while I'm on the show.
Oh,
I love you.
Cry me a river.
Don't call me. What?
My mom's probably going to call just because you're saying that.
I have do not disturb on. That's crazy.
Yeah.
What the hell? Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So
nobody
here we go.
call me now. What the hell?
This is okay. So this is so weird. He brings in a New York Post article, I guess, and references it with his lawyer that's there. And he goes, a recent New York Post article published emails related to the Miami meeting that included discussions about the ownership split of JV Partners, which is going to be this company eventually. Again, this is 2017. This is them trying to make a deal after, and Joe's not in there. This is the whole 10% for the big guy thing that one of the Gilyar apparently puts in there, who's not American and does it in whatever. That's the whole defense that Bobulinski has, is he's not even an American. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. The informal ownership discussed, 50% of the JV would be owned by the Biden family, which it isn't. It's just Hunter and James Biden are 40% partners in it, 20 each. And it was 20 for Bobulinski, 20 for James Biden, 20 for Gilyar, 20 for Walker, and 10% for Hunter Biden, which is not what the deal was on paper. Goldman brings this up. It was always 20% for everybody. At one point, James was in for 10%, and then he got boosted up to 20 because of his partnership in it and whatever. But no, Hunter was never 10%. But the additional 10% held by Hunter for the big guy, which was a reference to Joe Biden. Hunter Biden was going to hold Joseph Biden's ownership percentage on behalf of him. That whole it was not officially listed in the capitalization documentation or legal incorporation documents. Instead, Bobulinski, Hunter Biden, Walker, Gilyar, and James Biden were each listed in these documents as holding 20% of the company, which combined constitute 100% of the non-CEFC owned portion of the company. The non-CEFC.
Why are we here? Why are we talking about this? Why did this even become ever a thing?
Right.
It's just, you want to eat your own fist.
I know.
You hear shit like that when the Trumps have a list of criming going back decades. I'm so tired of this. And the MSM just false equivalences all over both of them, from Jon Stewart to Kristen Welker. All over there. They're old and the same. They're not. The Bidens don't do the criming.
Nope.
Why can't people stop doing this? And I'm tired of people using Biden crime family. I'm tired of people calling him genocide. Joe, knock it the fuck off.
Right. It's gross.
It's not just gross. It's wrong. It's inaccurate. It's not like Joe Biden wakes up every day going, who can we genocide today?
Yeah, it's gross.
I love taking American taxpayer dollars and funneling them into terrorism. That's not what Joe Biden is doing.
Don't you know, Tara, that Michigan Muslims are going to vote for Donald Trump because he's
no, they're not. No, they're not.
Yeah, en masse. Yeah, they
aren't.
He's going to lose 12% of Muslims.
No, he isn't.
In the Muslim vote, and they're going to vote for him because when Donald Trump gets in, he will treat the Palestinians with respect and demand a two-state solution.
Sure, like he did when he was in office for 4 years. He did so much help to the Middle East. Do you want Donald Trump negotiating an international hostage situation with terrorists? No, you don't.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Biden regime is also, who's just said that in the chat? That was, Mark P said Biden regime references annoy the fuck out of me too. Yeah.
I mean, that's just fuck off. Joe Biden, by the way.
That's a Russian talking point. Regime, using the word regime.
Who's the only world leader who got out some hostages from the Middle East?
Exactly.
That'd be Joe Biden. That would be Joe Biden and his decades of foreign policy experience. And just because he's not showboating right in front of you, that doesn't mean he's not doing his job. Joe Biden is an bloviating, braggadocious, vainglorious piece of shit who has to tell everybody what he wishes he was doing so they will like him. He just quietly puts up the numbers. Go look at the Biden-Harris record. It speaks for itself when the MSM won't speak for them. So it's just like, why are we here? Because these stories are exciting and sexy, but they don't tell the whole story, because then they have to tell the boring parts.
Can I broach more into the idiocy of this real quick?
Please do.
Some of this
Please do, because I'm not churned up enough about it.
I know. Subsequent to the 2017 Miami meeting, Bobulinski worked on incorporating and structuring the new JV in accordance with the agreement made amongst the partners. So here's the thing. Bobulinski thinks he did all the work. They came up with the cap funds, and then he was supposed to his whole plan was, I'm going to hire bankers to work for us. We're going to go all over the world looking for deals, and we're going to make billions. And the deal fell apart because he's a fucking lunatic and never happened. But he created the structure. So all the stuff that seems like they're baiting Hunter or James into, sketchy shit, all of it seems to originate with Bobulinski's wording all the time. It's very weird. Now, this is the weird part. Something Bobulinski worked on incorporating. He goes through the part. The JV was named Sino-Hawk Holdings LLC. Now, China being Sino and Hawk allegedly saying, because the reference to hawk was significant, that hawks were the favorite animals of Beau Biden. He liked hawks. Great, whatever. I call kind of bullshit on that. I think Sino-Hawk was kind of an ironic name that Bobulinski wanted to seem like he was being tough on China, because China Hawk sounds, that's what that means. It's just weird. But anyways, it was a subsidiary. They incorporated it in Delaware, like everything else. The name of the JV was derived from two words: Sino for China, CFC owned portion of the JV, and Hawk representing the portion of the JV owned by the Biden family and its partners. I love how it's them first and the partners. Meanwhile, he wants 3 votes and Hunter and James get 1 each. Sino-Hawk was owned 50-50 by 2 companies: Oneida Holdings, which is the company that the other corporation that Bobulinski put together, and Hudson West, which were both Delaware LLCs. Oneida had 5 members, each of which owned 20%. In turn, the 5 members were LLCs owned by Bobulinski, James Biden, Hunter Biden, Gilliar, and Walker. So all their companies were partnered under Oneida Holdings. HW4 was wholly owned by Yi. That's the other company. That's Hudson West 4. Dongwen Gong, who's this... Dongwen, I think it's Gongwen Dong, actually, if I'm getting his name right, because I don't think he was Kevin Gong. He was Kevin Dong. But anyways, was the registered agent of HW4, and he served as a representative of it in the United States, which is not the same thing as having a subsidiary. Dongwen has also represented other companies that use the Hudson West name. 1, 2. Hudson West 2 is famously the one that owns the $5 million apartment. Bobulinski, and he bought a bunch of shit. By the way, I can't wait for them to dive into Hudson West 1 and 2. Because if 4 is the fucking Biden deal, which never went anywhere, 1 and 2 has all kinds of Trump properties wrapped up in it.
Of course it does.
Fucking amazing.
They just can't stop shooting themselves in the feet.
Can't stop. I think this is like the people in the election representatives and people like Raffensperger and Kemp in Georgia, who were like, stop looking. They're like, we're going to find that fraud. And they're like, stop looking for the fraud. Why? Because it's your fraud. We look the other way, so you got a few more fucking votes. But if we keep looking, all we're going to do is find boxes of Biden votes that we threw out. Stop fucking looking. That's exactly what happened.
They find more votes for Joe Biden, so stop it. And no one's ever proven your election fraud, so shut the fuck up about it. And the people who tell us to get over shit need to get over their shit.
Right.
You lost. He's still fucking talking about the 2020 election 4 years later. It's pathetic.
Oh, yeah.
It's pathetic. You lost. Please.
He's still talking about 2016 like it was the biggest win ever, when he lost the popular vote and squeezed the fucking the electoral college.
Because he had Russia helping him. He had Russia and China helping him, and the Saudis. And if he didn't have all of that help, he never would have gotten there.
I agree. But
and
it's
that's
on
how
us.
we got. Right, well, and that goes all back to what we started with, that the mainstream media not knowing how to report on him accurately from the start. Because, first it was, oh, he's a joke. And then as then his competition started dropping out. And instead of taking him, they took that as, oh, well, he's just the presumed guy now. Now, instead of exposing him, they were like, well, this is getting us ratings, and let's keep on with that. And here we are now living at threat level midnight every day because they became addicted to the rage cycle. And that's where we are. Maybe this isn't the sexiest story in the world to dig through like we're doing, but it's really important. It's just indicative of how they act and why all of this is such bullshit.
Okay, remember how I said that Yi Jinping, the head of CEFC, bought an apartment in Trump World Tower? He also had another one in regular old Trump Tower, and under, I think, Hudson West too. It wasn't 40 Wall Street. It was one of the other one, like one of the Trump condominium buildings. Mm-hmm. Hunter, this is the fun part. Bobulinski's testimony to the feds. Hunter Biden told Bobulinski that he spoke with Yi at least once a week on a standing weekly call, and that Hunter Biden was Yi's personal attorney, which he wasn't. He was Patrick Ho's personal attorney, not Yi's. So Bobulinski's getting this wrong. I mean,
well, they all look alike to him, so
right,
I'm sure,
maybe so.
Right.
Hunter Biden also, this is again, hearsay being what it is. Hunter Biden also told Bobulinski that he was Yi's first guest at Yi's new multi-million-dollar apartment in New York City.
New York City.
Well, what do you know? New York City. That wouldn't happen to be one of his properties that Trump owns, would it? That he bought brand new in 2017 when Donald Trump was fucking president. And I've got to hear about how, Joe Biden made a drive-by wave at a meeting in Miami and said hi to everybody when he was no longer in office and not running for office. That the smallest window where Joe Biden is not in public service since the fucking mid-60s. It was like 13 months where he wasn't a candidate and wasn't in office. That's when all this shit happens. Meanwhile, he's inviting, this motherfucker's inviting Hunter Biden to his brand new apartment that he bought from Donald Trump while Donald Trump was fucking president. And it's in this fucking testimony.
It's illegal. That's very illegal. What do I know, though? I'm not a lawyer. It's
poor
fine.
Summer. I'm laying there in bed, reading on my iPad when this first comes out. I've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying not to elbow her.
Right, you're kicking, and you're just like, God
what
damn
the
it!
Fucking shit is this bullshit? What the
Clinton's second term right now. It's just like you want to peel the skin off of your face because every day we find out more shit they got away with, and they shouldn't at all. And where are the consequences? And when does it all end? Because it's bullshit. We shouldn't have to live like this. We really shouldn't. We just genuinely should not. And I'm reminded of this every single day, that the stuff that matters is suppressed so that people still think that Joe Biden is an unsuccessful president when he's the most successful Democratic president ever, and has the best economic turnaround ever, and all of the things that he's done. Oh, but maybe he fell down, or maybe he's 81, or maybe, what? So again, coming back full circle, why don't we start demanding better of the media? Beginning with, can you just tell us the truth without sticking your own bullshit opinion in there? No, then don't do this job. So it to me, because Maddo, you said she's going to read this tonight probably and talk. She's one of the few who are still doing it right. But then you have her colleague Joanne Reed having Charlemagne the God on, being like, Biden sucks, genocide Joe. Blah, blah, blah. No. Don't do that. And just hire me instead, because I don't have a job writing about politics. I tell the truth, Democratic or Republican. Today, finally, my podcast with Rick Wilson dropped today. We recorded it on the 8th. But on the 8th, I said that Donald Trump was going to get another huge judgment because of in New York. We were waiting on that at the time. And then I said, as soon as that judgment comes out, he's going to come up with a brand new grift, which he did, which was the sneakers. So it's worth listening to, even though it's from a couple of weeks ago, because the topic is evergreen. What Trump's utter failure is an evergreen topic that we could probably discuss for generations and still not get to all of the criming. So between this appearance and Rick's, maybe more people would be like, hey, maybe that girl should be talked to
I
a
like
little
it.
bit more.
I'm
Like
trying. I'm doing the best I can.
last week with
It worked for
Stephanie
Phil.
last week was so great. You know, so maybe I'll get back on with, I don't know if you saw, but Stephanie's show was fantastic last week.
Great.
I got a nice little Stephanie Miller bump. Every Monday I get a little House Sparks bump for The Sound of Settling, my rock and roll love story, which you can order right now at TaraDublinRocks.com. Please leave a 5-star rating if you would. I've now sold 531 copies, Hal.
Nice.
Sold 31 copies 31 copies since Valentine's Day.
Great.
And I have now passed 25,000 pages read just on Kindle. And 3 people read the whole book in the last 2 days.
Yay.
So the reviews are amazing. Yay. So everyone, please go to TaraDublinRocks.com and buy my book and share it with everybody, because someone needs to hashtag sign Tara or hire Tara. Like immediately, I'm going to make the March rent, but April comes, she will. And with that, my 55th birthday is in April, by the way. And then also by April 4th, I have to let I know there's going to be a one of the local venues that I love so much, Rev Hall. They have the 80s video dance party. They play all and it's happening on my birthday. So I'm psyched for that. Probably going to do that. Unless the Foo Fighters want to invite me to Jazz Fest in New Orleans, I'd be happy to do that instead. For now, we're still waiting for the big break. So please, I wrote the sequel. It's written, but I'm not going to release it until somebody gives me a proper publishing deal already.
All right.
Please. So, Hal, I'm the only one advocating for me. And I need to get this baby to the next level.
I know what that's like. I started this show, during lockdown. And
I know you did.
I've been building this race car while it's been going down the tracks.
I love it. There's a part in here for you. There's a part in here for Mark Hamill. There's a part in here for Patton Oswalt. There's parts for anybody, any famous person wants to be in there. I will find something for you to do. So it's just a question of finding the yes person. But in the meantime, friends, please sign up for my Substack, which is taradublin.substack.com. My Substack started blowing up this morning, and I got almost 50 new free subscribers, which is wonderful. That's the Rick Wilson bump. So let's see if we can talk it, Sparks people. I bet we can get more people to sign up than Rick Wilson. Come on. Maybe by next Monday, I'll have something more exciting to tell you than I just went to the eye doctor this week, because that's what I'm doing later this week. I'm going to the eye doctor.
All right.
Everyone's got to take care of yourselves. It's important. Self-care matters. Self-care matters. And the truth matters more than ever. And as we part, I would ask everybody, if you see something, say something. If you see a media report where you're like, that doesn't seem accurate, or that seems ageist towards Joe Biden, call them out. They may not respond, and they don't have to, but it's up to us to hold them accountable. Just because people don't take responsibility, it doesn't mean we don't hold them responsible. So that's always my goal, always to tell the truth. I might be harsh about it. I might use, my New Jersey or New York words, but ultimately, that's why we're all here and doing what we're doing, is to make sure that we're telling the truth and that it gets out and that the rights people are in place. Because joke all you want, Jon Stewart, Trump and Joe Biden are not the same, and I am always going to push back against that narrative, and I hope other people will start doing that too, because it's just, it's enough already. It's irresponsible, especially in an election year that matters like this one does. And like the latest mishegas from the Republicans is that they don't want to seat Tom Suozzi because George Santos, he won George Santos' seat. The special election is to take George Santos' seat. There's a Democrat who won that, and the Republicans don't want to seat him.
Well,
because then they'll lose even more of their tiny margin. And
I think we're well on our way to them losing their majority before the actual election.
Oh, I hope so. And we'll get a real speaker in Hakeem Jeffries finally, and we'll actually see some things done. And maybe we won't have to worry about more states deciding that a frozen embryo is a child. No, it isn't. That's not a person. That is not a person. Not yet. It's not. If you can't live viably, if I can't feed you a bottle, you're not a baby. And if I can't use you to sit in the carpool in the second seat so that we can drive in the carpool lane, you're not a person yet. You are not a person. So I don't like it when the government decides to make a law about my body without my consent. And that's, that's a thing that matters. And if you vote for Democrats,
I gotta say, we'll have to see how this plays out over time. But I don't know how they're gonna like make a legal decision like that and then go, we need to force a bunch of women, I guess, to broodmare themselves to bring all of these stored embryos to full term. Or
I mean, that's
murder.
what Tommy Tuberville wants. He's like, we need more kids. We need more kids because they're trying to create an indoctrinated white army of obedient servants who are stupid, don't read books, don't know the real history of the United States, so they can turn them into complacent little worker bees to put them out in the field and child labor, marry them off when they're 13, go back to the Middle Ages, essentially. That's what Tommy Tuberville wants. And yet they got him on camera when they were like, there are plenty of couples in Alabama who were relying on IVF to start a family, and now they can't because you have interrupted their IVF process with this. They're in the middle of all of this, and now you've stopped. And do you know what that does to a woman's body? Do you know what that does to they don't understand. They're like, our life is precious. Fuck you. You don't do shit to help human beings once they're outside of the womb. Stop it.
Let's be abundantly clear. The idea that these folks believe that science and humanity coming up with a way for a woman who cannot have a child naturally, quote unquote naturally, to use IVF to actually have a baby, a healthy child, bring it to term and give birth and have a child for her life multiple times even, that is a violation of God's will. But a woman being raped and being forced to carry that baby to term and if she miscarries during that pregnancy, possibly being up on manslaughter charges, that's God's will.
What? Pick a lane with the God's will.
That's what I'm saying.
If you're going to use the crutch, make sure you're using it correctly. You can't cherry pick things to suit your particular personal outrage and belief system.
Yeah.
That's not how it's supposed to work. Mm-hmm. So it's either for everyone or for no one. And what business is it of yours how people create their family? It should not be anybody's business. Now, there are some who would argue that if a person needs to rely on IVF, maybe that's natural biological selection. Maybe it's a natural way to maintain the population. You see it in other mammals, right? They don't always breed, or there's homosexuality in other mammals to maintain population control. I think it's a natural population control. I'm not saying you shouldn't be a parent. If you can't biologically conceive and you truly want a family, you can adopt, you can go through IVF. There are ways to create families aside from sexual intercourse between sperm and egg. But shut up about it. It's nobody's business how you start a family. It's nobody's business how people live. If you have two consenting adults, leave them alone. If people want to start a family, it's not your business. And actually, if you say we need more kids and you want more money from these people, encourage this instead of trying to suppress it.
The idea is that I guess their dumb argument for this is that have all the eggs that you fertilized, bring them all to term, or that because we want more and more and more and more and more, and until your body is basically used up like you're in a fucking puppy mill. Because that's what they're talking about. That's what Tommy Tuberville's
talking about. Sacred from Monty Python, and they have 150 kids in this one apartment, and she's like washing, and a baby falls out of her.
Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is great. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If a sperm gets wasted, God gets quite irate.
Yeah.
So why isn't masturbation considered a crime by these crazy lunatics? Because every time you
what do you think the anti-porn stuff, NoFap November and all that kind of stuff is a soft way of dovetailing towards trying to curtail masturbation? But there are no laws. There are no laws currently telling men when they may or may not have an emission. They can't. You can jerk it all day, every day. There's no way to police it. There's no laws on the book saying you can only express semen from your penis if you are in the act of procreation. So that's because everybody has to nap sometime as a growing boy.
All those crusty socks full of dead babies. Why aren't they in trouble? So men cause 100% of pregnancies, yet are responsible for 0% of the onus. when there's an unwanted pregnancy or an ectopic pregnancy or a miscarriage or anything else that happens. Because there are so many things that could happen during a pregnancy that are absolutely nobody's fault. Nobody's. Right. It's not the mother's fault if she miscarries. And I will tell you right now, as the mother of 2 adult children, first of all, I've never had an abortion, and I'm really tired of people tweeting me saying, why don't you just go have another abortion? First of all, I'm going to be 55 and I cannot get pregnant any longer. But I've never had one. I just had the choice to have one if I wanted one, and I was grateful. I lived at a time where that was a choice for me. But after carrying 2 babies, one to full term, one was premature. So my second son was born premature at about eight months and a couple of weeks, and was in the NICU for the first 12 days of his life and almost died the day he was born. And that was the most traumatic experience of my life. You cannot. When the Republicans talk about women who want abortions up until the moment of birth, that's not a thing. We don't do that. Nobody's murdering their baby immediately going, no, thanks. I don't want this. I want to return this like a pair of shoes. No, we don't do that. No one's doing that. We're not murdering them. We're not eating them. We're not doing crazy, stupid shit with fetal tissue. Stop it.
Right.
The thing that they have confused is they are not educated on the horrific thing that is infant palliative care. And that is a traumatic experience for the family when a baby is born and will not survive for whatever. They have medical reasons. And there is a way to keep that baby comfortable until it passes. And that is traumatizing.
Oh, it's horrible.
Traumatizing for the family. And when they're talking about murdering babies after birth,
it's fucking gross. These are people who painted the room, picked out the furniture, had gender reveal parties. Jesus Christ. Like and again, never mind even with the misogyny of the idea that just women want to, I don't want it. I decided against it, Doc. Chip it, throw it in the chipper shredder.
Party.
Right. Never mind the like virulent, disgusting misogyny that's in that. But how about the misandry as well? Like the fathers in these situations who are not only wanted a child, wanted a family with the woman they're with, they're watching their wife or their partner go through this horrible shit, and it's heartbreaking for them emotionally, and they're afraid that they might lose their partner in this whole fucking process because Tommy fucking Tuberville thinks they should have to carry a baby to term that has its heart outside its body and its legs are seared to the inside. Are seared to the inside of the uterus and will tear her to pieces if it comes out that way, and it's only going to live unless they put it on a ventilator and just keep
for its brief life.
Right.
They have no concept of
none.
What pregnancy gross. And childbirth, even normal, healthy pregnancy and normal, healthy delivery, it is a traumatic experience for the woman's body. They have no concept of it. They do not care. And then, of course, once the baby is out, then what are they doing? They're cutting SNAP benefits. They're cutting public education. They're doing all of these things to make sure children actually don't thrive outside the womb. So what is it you're actually doing? Whose children are you actually protecting, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when you allow your own teenage daughters to hang out with sex trafficking pedophile rapists? And you're parading your own daughter around Mar-a-Lago with her tits out so maybe you can marry her off to a Russian oligarch. I'm so disgusted by the hypocrisy in the Republican Party. It just kind of renews itself on the daily.
It does.
Because they create a new low for humanity every single day. And every day where you think I couldn't be more disgusted by these people, they're like, wait, we're going to have CPAC and tell you how much more you can hate us. Jack, piece of shit, got up and was like, welcome to the end of democracy. We're going to end the United States.
Yeah.
Funny. It's not funny, and it shouldn't be treated as a joke, and it should be absolutely framed as a horror show that
again,
it is.
I can spend all day, and I do, criticizing those folks, but my only real concern is our voters voting like reasonable, intelligent, caring human beings, because the idea that somehow that as Democrats, through the Department of Education and federal funding, we are trying to get SNAP and S-CHIP and school lunches and fucking, tax breaks on childcare and the like for working people and all that kind of stuff, that as imperfect as those solutions are, that because, we didn't have a dummy vote on Medicare for all right out of the gate, that they're going to go back and vote for Donald Trump, who doesn't believe in any of those fucking things, and we've got the system.
Any of it.
To me,
I
talk about using human shields. That's what that is.
The basic comes down to Democrats deliver everything that Americans need. Republicans vote to remove everything that makes life worth living. So Democrats don't take things away from people. We're not even trying to take away your guns. We just don't want you killing people with them.
Yep. Let's just start with people who've been convicted of or are currently waiting trial on domestic violence or interpersonal violence of any kind in those minutes. Little red flag laws here and there isn't a bad thing. And if you
maybe an extended background check.
Yeah.
I also think anybody who wants to buy a gun in this country should have to take a course like we do for driver's ed.
Here's an idea. How about this? If you think the Second Amendment is so integral to being an American and it is a God-given right to every American, cool. Then you have to wear your ID outside your clothes everywhere you fucking go. I want to know you're Joe American. I need to know you're the real deal. I don't want to decide if you get to wear this fucking walk around in khakis and a fucking balaclava and open carry and you're like, you can't bother me. I'm an American. Fucking prove it, asshole. How am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know?
Marching around with their faces covered, the same guys who wouldn't put on a mask for COVID because they're selfish fucking pieces of shit. I'm not doing that. But they'll cover their faces even though they're so proud to be white.
To keep their job.
So, I don't think so. So everything that's backwards, call it out. Everything that's wrong, call it out. That's what we are here for. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're on podcasts. That's why we're still on all the social media. If we didn't care, we wouldn't be here. It matters. Biden facts matter. That's one of the many hashtags I've been using lately because the facts and the truth will always matter. And we always have to be louder than the people who are lying because sure, just keep telling me that Joe Biden is 81.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has a court calendar of 91 charges. He has yet to lose.
Well, the other thing is why am I supposed to listen to Chuck Grassley talk about the Hunter Biden or the Crime family or whatever?
I'm not listening to the grasshole.
Get the fuck out of here. The dude's still 90 some odd, and he's still a congressman. He couldn't become a senator. He didn't become a governor. But somehow you listen to him and his 1,000-page rambling reports. Right? Yeah. Anyways, we went way over time, and I've got one more thing to do after I let Tara go. So I want to remind everybody: get the book, The Sound of Settling, TaraDublinRocks.com. Subscribe on our Substack if that's your kind of thing, and we will see you next Monday. I hope.
Have a good week. Love you.
Absolutely. Bye. Tell your mom I said hi. Okay, one more thing. I'll be right back. I gotta grab some. Do 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 boom 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 boom.
Speaker Johnson's office, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to encourage the speaker to bring the Ukraine funding to the floor, and I'm horrified every day that doesn't come to the floor, and I think it's disgusting. And I don't know what the holdup is, so I'm just expressing my outrage because I don't get it, and I think it's cruel, and it makes no sense.
All right, yes, sir. I'll be sure to pass this along.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. We'll call again on Wednesday. That was me calling Speaker Mike Johnson's office. The number is, here, I'll put it up on screen. I'm going to do this real quick. 202. He has a bigger staff, by the way, now, because he's the speaker. So, let's go to here. Add a source. I'm going to add a new one. Okay, I'm going to add that source, and then I'm going to go to here, and the number is, oops, back up, quit it. This is so slow, hold on. Speaker Johnson. What in the hell? Didn't back up. Hold on. Spans up his speaker. Look how slow it is, too. Go back, you silly thing. There you go. There we go. It's the number is 202 225 4000. There we go. So that is, hold on, bold. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to put that. Let me use. Now I'm getting picky about. There you go, Arial Black. That's better, and we'll make it a little bigger. About that, something like this. There you go. Okay, done. There we go. So this, whoops, get over here, you silly. This guy, move it down here. So that's Speaker Johnson's number right there, 202-225-4000. See what I just did? Where I just called and said, I don't like it. Stop it. It's cruel and disgusting. I don't get it. That's enough. We're going to call again on Wednesday. I'm going to call again on Friday. This is going to be a regular part of the morning show for the foreseeable future. But if you guys want, there's the number. Took me all of 8 seconds, and it was a real human answering the phone. Yep. Yeah, you can send postcards and all that kind of stuff, but I'm telling you, there it is. 202-225-4000. Speaker's office, and they've got people waiting around. I fuck them up. Tell them what's up. Yes, it was a human person on the phone. Bless, and be nice to them. Be nice to them. Just express your emotions and your feeling about it, but don't do it at the expense of the person answering the phone. They're signed by the Capitol. They're not on his side or anybody's side in that regard. They're just going to pass it along. And the nicer you are and the more genuine you are, the better it will be. Don't call them names or anything. Just make a point of telling them how you feel. There you go. So, I told you I'd be doing it, and here we are. So, I love you guys. I'll see you guys this afternoon. I'm going to, today's show will be really tight later today, and I have so many fucking clips. So, I don't know if I'll start early or something like that. I always say that, but then I get caught reading. Because Summer and I are flying out tonight to Houston. We have a belated Valentine's Day thing that we're doing. We're going to the astronaut facility there, and we're doing a tour of it because that's Summer's Valentine's Day gift. So tomorrow I will be in Houston doing that. So I won't have an afternoon show tomorrow because we will be in a space capsule, I think. Is it a space capsule if it's still on Earth? Sure. I'm going to call it that. I don't care. And then, like every other show, the rest of the week will be as normal. Friday, I'm flying to Dallas. I'm in Texas twice this week. Crazy pants. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a... Hey, Boston Brian, how you doing? So, I will be... hold on, leave that page and get out of there. There you go. I will see you guys this afternoon for the regular show, and I'll post pictures and shit like that from it. And maybe some videos or something, but we'll be there. Thank you for the good example. Thanks. Yeah, so just, there's the number. Give it a call. Just tell them, bring the vote to the floor. Gherkin was found dead? Really? Holy shit. I'm never going to run out of shit to cover at this point. The world is insane. All right. Also, on a personal level, if you haven't watched the show Resident Alien, let's see if I can find the ad for it. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Oh, that's just the Wikipedia page. Rats. Anyways, why the picture's terrible. What is that? It's an AI picture of it. That's terrible. Anyways, Alan Tudyk, who's on there. This is a little better. Go to the comms thing. This is the show. Just for the record, I've never. I think. Well, I may have met Alan at like one event or something like that. But I don't know him, and we're not close friends or anything like that or whatever. But I've always liked the idea of the show, but I never really got a chance to check it out or whatever. But he's kind of a rock solid dude insofar as what I see online. From him as a person, seems like a good, solid soul. And so I like recommending the work of people that I like as well. And it's just, yeah, it's just a good show, and he's great, and everybody on it's, swinging for the fences. It's quite lovely. So, yeah. So, anyways, I just thought I'd pass that on because he's, you see some people kind of posting into the wind. And, you can tell that they're trying, and they're trying to, live their values, as it were. Yeah, he's terrific in that show. He's a really great actor. So there you go. Anyways, just thought I'd lay that out there. And much love, and I'll see you this afternoon. Yeah. Yes. They did say Jehovah.
Even outside, it's packed.
The past was